Predestination is a 2014 released science fiction directed by the Spierig brothers.
I'm going to try and keep the plot synopsis short and sweet because it's a bit of a twisty-turny kind of thing with lots of reveals that, we don't want to spoil. Anyway, it stars Ethan Hawke as a temporal agent, which is a posh way of saying time cop. He's been on an assignment and he's been badly burned and he's had a face transplant. So then he gets given his last assignment and he travels back to 70s New York. And he's he's on the trail of this terrorist called the Fizzle Bomber, who is due to, he's set off various bombs killing people in different cities. But in 1975, he's going to set off a massive bomb that's going to kill, thousands of people. So, Ethan's character is trying to stop it. Yeah, he's working as a sort of undercover as a bartender. He gets talking to one of the customers who comes in, who reveals that he's writes sort of true confession articles. They sort of get chatting and they're talking about, sort of outlandish stories that they each have. And this customer says, I bet I've got a story that can beat any of yours. So Ethan Hawke says, I bet you this bottle of whiskey that you can't. So then for sort of the next, 45 minutes, this person tells his story. That makes up sort of the first half of the film. And I can't really talk any more about what happens after that. Sort of time-travelling stuff comes after that. Like I say, it's very twisty and turny, and there's reveals or, about certain characters and events. It's better to go in not knowing anything about it. So these things are a surprise. So I won't say any more. We're going to have to tread very carefully through this video not to spoil anything.
How carefully do we tread with this one? I'll start by saying this is our fourth time travel film. Not our last. We've got our own kind of weird time shift going on. And we've been given an extra Friday this month.
Yes.
So you get an extra time travel film next Friday. So this isn't our last one. So we can go further into the world of time travel. So this one's quite interesting, but it's very tricky to talk about this one because we don't really do spoilers. Well, we try our best not to do spoilers on this channel. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of people will watch this who know this film. So if you're coming to this, video expecting us to explain what on earth's going on in this film, it's not going to happen, I'm afraid. There are plenty of websites out there that do actually do that. Obviously, time travel, any film that deals with time travel, and this one it deals with, last week I spoke about the kind of mechanics of time travel, and Back to the Future is obviously one that really delves into the mechanics of time travel and paradoxes and things like that. Things that get changed, and then that changes something in the future, and then they have to go back to the future, they have to kind of rechange it. Back to the Future 2, possibly more so than the original Back to the Future. Back to the Future has paradoxes, but Back to the Future 2 is when everything kind of really, gets turned on its head from the things that have kind of happened from the first into the second. Wow, that film goes all over the place. But so this one's kind of got the paradox. It's got the time loop in here, which is a bit like Groundhog Day. You've kind of got people stuck in a time loop, but they're not stuck in a time loop. They're kind of creating the time loop.
It talks about a predestination paradox, which is like a causal loop where an event in the past causes an event in the future, which then in turn causes that event in the past. So it is like a loop, but it's not a Groundhog Day style loop where they relive the same period of time. It is just the same events happen at the same time in the same order every single time. Even though whenever you watch a time travel film, obviously like this one, you are coming to it in the middle, and things in the past have already happened, but we then see them happening, and then things in the future have already happened, but we see them happen, and it's things in the future happen before they happen in the past, and it just gets if you think about it too much, then it does get confusing. I think the way the film presents it, for me, wasn't particularly confusing. I could follow what was going on. If you nod off or you don't concentrate, then you probably would get a bit lost. But no, the structure of it does make sense. If you start to try and pick it apart, because it is this loop where the future affects the past, you kind of think, well, it kind of becomes impossible. Obviously this is the thing with a lot of time travel films and time travel itself. Theoretically, it's very difficult to figure out how it would actually work in reality, and that's why probably most scientists say it's not possible in the conventional way that we think of it. Jump in a time machine and off you go. In the time machine in this, I think it doesn't say you can only travel 53 years back and forth from the point when time travel was invented. I'm not sure, I think, again, that's another mechanic that's been used in films. When time travel is invented, that's the furthest you can go back, which makes sense, because if time travel, it obviously depends what the device is that they're using in the film and how closely they want to stick to science. I mean, it's not really explained particularly in Predestination how that works or why it's 53 years. And surely it would be 53 years forward from the date it's invented, not necessarily 53 years back, because if you go backwards, then time travel hasn't been invented. I don't know. But again, it's not really explained. So, I mean, they use violin cases as time, as a time machine. So that kind of tells you what you need to know. I mean, that itself, it's got quite a noir feel to it. I don't know whether you felt that as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I was kind of thinking about other films it kind of references. I mean, it certainly references. I think films like Primer, Looper is another one. I mean, 12 Monkeys. I think 12 Monkeys has a kind of a similar thing where you can only go so far. I think maybe I can't remember.
I haven't watched it for a while, but possibly.
That's kind of similar, and even Minority Report. I mean, Minority Report's not a time travel film, but that does deal with pre-crime, and it's stopping crimes before they happen, which is kind of what's going on here. But this has definitely got that kind of neo-noir feel to it. I mean, it feels like films like Dark City. I mean, Dark City is...
I was going to say the same thing. That's immediately what, I thought of Dark City.
Yeah, it's definitely that kind of noir, and obviously the violin case, the time machine in a violin case is actually quite cool, I thought, and that really does set itself up to be like a noir. He wears the kind of the hat, although it kind of, a lot of this takes place around the 70s. They do go back further, the 60s and further back still at other parts in it. He's kind of, he's got that kind of noir look to him. Dark City is the kind of the one I really thought about the most, and it's, that's dark, and there's obviously lots of noir lighting going on, and there's lots of noir lighting in this one. I mean, this one looks great. It looks really good. It looks clean, you know what I mean? The cinematography is very clean. Kind of the future looks very clean and sheen and kind of, lots of silvers. But then the past, although it's it's almost a kind of a TV, it's almost like when the X-Files goes back in time, you get that kind of TV look of the 70s. Yeah. This film has a bit of that. I think what really stands out in this film is the two leads. I mean, I think it's one of those films that if they weren't careful, it could just turn into waffle, because of the crazy, ludicrous storylines. It's very dialogue heavy, this film. I mean, like you said, the story that he tells, like you said, it goes on for about 45 minutes. So it is, obviously it's told in flashbacks. So the two leads, so of course, John in this is played by Sarah Snook. And so there is a kind of, there's a transgender going. I suppose we can mention that part of the plot, you have a character that is born as a woman and then transitions to a male later on in the film. We won't maybe.
You find that out quite early on.
You do find that quite. No, it's not a huge thing. But so Sarah Snook plays the character of Jane when she's born, and then she transitions to John, and it's John that we see telling the story. She plays it amazingly. I don't really know her from anything else. Is she Australian? I think she's Australian.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, but she completely convinced me that she was both, a woman originally, and then when she transitions to a man. So she's basically got, she's born with both organs, and when she has a baby, the organs of the male kind of, she almost has to be put back together as a man. It's an interesting concept. But that's actually, that itself feels not ahead of its time, but, obviously with how transgender is and where it is now, I think it's an interesting film that looks at gender politics maybe. And then Ethan Hawke, who he's such a great actor and he's so convincing in his role as well. And I think you had to have good actors for those scenes. And the bits where her in flashback or him and her in flashback, she's quite emotional scenes, and she plays them really well. There are little bits, obviously we won't talk about the plot. There are things in there that don't completely work for me.
As far as the plot goes, like I said, there are sort of twists and reveals and things like that. I saw it the first time, I don't know, not long after it was released. I kind of guessed what was going to happen. I can't remember what point of the film, maybe, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through perhaps. And I guessed what the sort of twist at the end was, and I was right, and I was like, oh, So I was a little bit disappointed because I kind of, kind of spoiled it for myself by guessing. So I didn't get the sort of wow, big reveal moment. I think, watching it again, it kind of signposts things a little bit too much, I think. There's lots of just little bits of dialogue or clues in there that if you're paying attention... I mean, even not paying attention, some of the dialogue, there's lines in there where it doesn't really... You think, why did they say that? It doesn't... It's a bit too obvious. I think it maybe assumes the audience is a bit too stupid to pick up on stuff. I don't know. It could have done with being a bit more obscure, I think, in some of it, and it would have kept the secrets better. And obviously it employs a lot, in some scenes it employs a lot of camera angles that obscure faces, so you don't know who the character is always a big flag that, I'm not supposed to know who this is because it's going to reveal it later on. And that, of course, then gets your brain working in the background, looking for clues. So I think, and obviously, if you're going to show a character like you have to do something to obscure their face. But I think maybe it's employed a little bit too much, along with these various lines and clues that are thrown in as little breadcrumbs. I think if they'd held back on that a little bit more, then it might have, the reveal might have been less flagged. It would have been harder to guess what the ending was going to be. I'm not trying to blow my drum in and say, I know I was too clever for this film. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. If you didn't guess it, then great, because you got a better time at the end than I did.
I agree with you completely, because the first time I saw it, I didn't guess it, and I went with it. And when the reveal, there are a few reveals in the film, but the big reveal, I was like, what? Huh? Crazy, and that really blew me away. And I was completely on board with the film all the way through. I enjoyed it. I love Ethan Hawke as an actor anyway. I think he's really good. Like I said, Sarah Snook was great. You've also got Noah Taylor in there, the Australian, who is a great actor who's been in many films that I really enjoy. And so it was nice to see him there, although he's not there too much. But I really went with it. And then the second time watching it, like you, I was like, wow, it's actually quite obvious. There's lots of, there are songs that characters sing and things in the background that you'll see and you'll go, oh, I see what they're doing. And it's actually quite, maybe I'm just thick.
No, I think it's the.
But then I went with the story the first time, I think. So
yeah, no, I think I obviously something just clicked with me when I was watching it and set my brain in motion, and obviously I put two and two together, and I mean it's a few years ago now, so I can't remember exactly when the sort of the penny dropped. I remember coming away a bit disappointed because that. I spoiled the ending for myself by guessing it.
What I did wish that, and it took me out of it last time, and it took me out of it this time, and that's the plot with the Fizzle Bomber. Now we should also kind of talk about. So this is actually based on a short story called. It's based on a short story called All You Zombies by the writer Robert A. Heinlein, and in that, the plot element of the Fizzle Bomber was added into this film. So that doesn't exist in... I haven't read the short story myself. I'd quite like to, actually. It sounds quite interesting. I mean,
from what I've read, it is harder. It has sort of similar twists, but it's harder to guess. I mean, obviously, when you don't have faces, you're just reading words, so you don't have any faces. So there's nothing to sort of hide as such. So that would make it easier to carry that plot on. But
I think with the whole plot with the Fizzle Bomber, I don't think works as well as the rest of the story, simply because that has been added on. So obviously, because a lot of people say that this film is very faithful to the original book, but then of course they are not the writers of the original book, the Spierig brothers, and they've kind of tacked on this plot about the bomber, which it kind of fits in there. I can see what they're doing with it.
It does, but it kind of is a little bit superfluous because you don't really... Yes, that's his mission, but it's not really dealt with a great deal during the course of the film. No. It's only really sort of the beginning and the end where that's sort of the main thrust of the story. Everything in between is more about John and Jane.
Plus it has a really annoying name, the Fizzle Bomber, which they do actually say in the film. They do talk about it having
do,
a bit of a
yes.
dopey name, which is quite funny because I thought, why couldn't they come up with something better? I don't know. But I mean, it's an interesting film. I mean, the writer himself actually wrote Starship Troopers as well, the book Starship Troopers, which of course went on to be that great Verhoeven film as well. So, and a lot of people kind of put him up next to Philip K. Dick and science fiction writers like that.
He's done quite. I think he's done quite a few famous sci-fi things. I think several things have been turned into movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe not as much name recognition as Philip K. Dick.
But one thing I did notice is that John, is it me, or doesn't he look a lot like John Connor from Terminator 2? Edward Furlong. He's just the spitting image of, I don't know if that was accidental or on purpose, because he's also called John, I don't know. But he looks like, Sarah Snook, when she's playing John, looks like Edward Furlong playing John Connor. I was just like...
Maybe slightly.
Whoa, crazy. Because then there's another one with kind of weird paradox. I mean, Terminator is another one which kind of plays on similar territory with this film.
With sort of loops and the past affecting the future and vice versa.
Well, it's kind of going back and doing things you perhaps shouldn't do because then it's going to like screw with the future and then...
Yeah.
Do we have it on DVD?
I had it on Blu-ray. I think I bought the Steelbook from Zavvi or something. I don't know if I bought it when it came out or in sale, but because I wasn't massively bothered about the film, and also there's no extras on it, and it's also in the wrong ratio, I got rid of it after I watched it. So no, I just watched it on Amazon Prime, which is also in the wrong ratio for some reason. But yeah, it should be 2.4 to 1, and it's 185 or 178 or whatever to 1. I don't know why. We're usually the only country that has it in that ratio. I don't know why. But yeah, I would avoid the UK Blu-ray. Go to any other country in the world, basically, because it's all in the correct ratio. I mean, I think it's like open matte, so you're not really missing it. It's not like it's cropped, I don't think. Well, not in every scene anyway, but it's obviously not how it was intended to be watched. So, bit of a strange thing. I don't know why it's like that. But no, I don't have it. But yeah, I watched it on Amazon.
So at the moment it is available, in this country at least, on Amazon Prime. You can see it there. And I recommend, going and checking it out.
Yeah, I mean, while I'm not massively enthusiastic about it, like you said, it has some great performances. It looks really nice. it's well directed. The music is good, which is done by one of the brothers. It's just that sort of the plot. While it's not confusing, and it makes sense. It was a little bit too giving with clues. I felt to sort of be a satisfying experience in the end for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if you have seen it, let us know. Were you like me? Did you get all the way to the end and not? I mean, I think it's if you get through a film and you don't figure it out, that's quite fun. But you can figure it out. I've figured out films before the end many times in the past as well. Let us know if you've seen this film. Try not to spoil it in the comments because
No.
Other people might not have seen it. That you'll go and spoil it in the comments now, won't you?
We can't be held responsible for spoilers in the comments.
We can't, no, exactly. But I think we've done quite well not spoiling it in the video.
Yeah.
So that was Predestination, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Hit the subscribe button there and don't forget to push the bell for notifications. There's other videos to check out over here. Come and find us on various social media platforms and join us again next week for another video.